Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Aaron with Aleeknives. In part 1, I forged this billet of Cu Mai, which is 5 layers with a copper layer embedded on both sides of the core material. Super neat. I'm really excited to see if my experiment worked. So tonight we're going to form a knife out of this. I'm going to grind in the bevels, and we're going to get to see that figure. Okay, we're doing a dagger. I've gone ahead and I milled the slot and I drilled the hole in the tang. This is going to be a hidden tang dagger. One thing I've learned with doing daggers personally, if you want to get everything right, you really got to lay it out. I mean, you got to draw lines and you've got to draw accurate lines because it's a symmetrical build and you've got 4 bevels that all have to meet. I like to grind a fuller or a slot in the middle, and then I index everything off of that slot. It's a really good way to do a dagger. Alright, so I'm going to paint that up like that. And 115. It's looking pretty good. Okay. I'm going to go grind these tips off here first. I've established back here where the guard's going to be, and I'm not going to grind this off yet because I need a handle, but I am going to knock these tips off so it's comfortable in my hand. Alright guys, I've been fiddling around for a while on this and I forgot to have the camera on. Here we are. I'm going to show you where I'm at. I went ahead and drew a whole bunch of lines on here. This is going to be where my guard fitment is. Actually no. This is going to be where my guard fitment is. This is going to be where the back of the bevel grind starts, and that's where the top of the bevel grind will stop. So I'm going to have an angle like this on the bevels on both sides. So I drew myself some reference lines there, and then I drew a line right here that's going to be my initial bevel grind, and then I left some space here for a top flat. I've done that on both sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and scribe my center line. That's my cutting edge. All the way to the tip. Right around to the other side. Let's grind some bevels. Alright, so here we are. Got my bevel jig on there. And it's nice to see that my marks that I put on there, when I put my jig lined up on this side, it also lines up on that side, which tells me that at least I put my marks all on the right place. So I'm going to jump in here and start grinding. Getting ready to heat treat this thing. My only hope is that I don't destroy it in the process. Like I said, this copper melts at 1900 degrees. I really only need to get this 1084 to 1500 degrees. So, assuming that I do it correctly, I ought to be able to get this thing heat treated. Right out of heat treat. We just got this thing tempered back, and here we are. Now you could see we had some meandering of this layer, but not nearly as much as I would have liked to have seen. So those are those grooves that I cut, and next time I will cut much deeper grooves. No big deal. It's a learning process. Look at that. Isn't that cool, guys? That is super neat to see how that worked. This is going to be a really striking contrast. This is 15 and 20, then the copper, and then 1084. So this is going to polish up and be bright and shiny. That'll be kind of a shiny copper color, and then this is going to be black. Black as black can be. I am contemplating cutting serrations in right here to give me some other cool contrast there. Now this is my pre-heat treat grind, guys. So this line right here is going to come a little closer. I'm going to refine these lines around the tip, square everything up. I'm going to square this up down here, finish sand everything off, bevel this edge here, and then we'll get a guard fit up. Check how thick that thing is. That thing is so thick. It's crazy. It's fairly heavy. I mean, that is a crazy thick dagger. Super neat build. So the first thing we're going to do is clean up these flats. So I'm just going to take and connect like that. And here we go. I am on to the hand sanding portion, and I figured I'd sand this slot that I milled first. And this posed to be interesting. I first tried to get in there with some needle files and things, but that was leaving behind some marks that I didn't really like. And after some long thought, I came up with this. I found a screwdriver that fits in there just perfectly. And what I've been doing is I've been wrapping some paper around the screwdriver, and then I can get in down here and sand out this area first on both the top and the bottom. And then once I got that sanded and I got all the scratches and the end mill marks out of the curved section, then I came in there with this file and sandpaper, and I was able to sand the flats. This took quite a long time to get the inside of this sanded out to where I wanted it, but you know, I have this big large milled section, and I wanted you to be able to look in there and see the layers of copper. So in order for you to be able to do that, it needed to be crisp and clean and sanded. So you know, I've got a good solid hour invested with cleaning up this slot now. Okay, I zoomed in real close. If you guys are going to try to do this at home, in the hand sanding process, this just about gave me a heart attack. I thought I was getting delaminations. When I sand, see this line that's forming on between the layers right here? I thought that was stuff that was getting under this layer of steel and squishing out. But in reality, what I figured out is happening is this is magnetic and this copper is not. So when you sand, the particles, you know, when you're using a liquid, they come down and they hang right onto the edge of that. See that? And then that stuff will form right on that edge again. There is no delamination there. It's as solid as it could possibly be. But it just threw me for a loop because I kept seeing stuff build up right on the edge, and just about gave me a heart attack. But in the end, that's what's going on. This has become magnetic through all the grinding, so I'm going to have to run it over my degausser and demagnetize this this piece of steel, and then that won't happen anymore. But that's exactly what's happening. This is magnetic and this is not, this copper layer. So yeah, when your stuff forms on here, it sucks to the edge, sucks right to the edge of that. The metal particles do. See it? See right there? As I'm pushing the particles over, you can see them start gathering right on that edge. Pretty wild, huh? So I spared you the hours of sanding that I put into this. I sanded this up to a 500 grit. Nothing too crazy. And then I buffed it. And I cleaned out the inside slit. Drop that blade in water. Let's add some instant coffee. No, it actually really looks like Guinness, doesn't it? Are you ready to see the blade? Here we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. With the black edge, the nickel top, and the copper stripe. Super, super cool. I'm going to bring you in close with the camera on zoom so you can see kind of the activity in the copper layer. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some things that I learned making this. Alright, now take a look at this guy right here. You could see we did get some activity in those layers. nothing like I wanted to see. But the layers do. But the layers do meander slightly. It is a really thick layer. Things that I learned, I would definitely do thinner layers of copper. One of the most important things that I learned in this entire project is when I went to polish this, I clamped this in the vise. And you could see right here, clamping it in the vise mushed this because the copper is slightly forgiving, and these top layers of metal pushed into the copper back here, mainly because the tang is not heat treated. So this portion of the tang back here I did not harden on purpose. I just hardened the front of the blade. I didn't heat all the way through the end of the tang. It's hardened through here, but right here where I really cranked down on it on the vise, it dimpled it in slightly, just slightly. But my point is, I got super lucky that I didn't crank the vise down here before I try to do my guard fitment, because normally I take my knives, I wrap a piece of leather around it, and I crank down right here, pinching the knife really hard in a vise, and I hammer this guard on. I'm glad that I learned that back here in the tang area before I went and clamped this into my vise and ruined my blade here, because that copper is slightly forgiving compared to the steel. I don't know if that would do that on this hardened portion. Let's not find out. This was the coffee here, the coffee darkening. It worked really well. It worked really, really, really well. My takeaways, this was a fun project. It made a cool dagger. I'll do it again, but I'll do it different. So on this one, the next video that I'm going to drop here in 3 or 4 days, I'm going to fit a guard and make a handle for this, and it'll be a complete knife. And it'll be a super sweet looking dagger, guys. I mean, this will be a unique dagger, something different than most of the other daggers that you're seeing everybody else out there build. And that's kind of what I go for, you know. If I could do something different, I'm definitely going to try it. If I could try uncharted territory, I'll definitely go there. And hopefully that's why you guys are interested in subbing to my channel and following the work that I do here. So stick around, guys. Let's see, this Wednesday I should drop a video on how to fit the guard on this knife and make the handle, and I haven't chosen my handle material yet, so you know, that'll be a new material on my handle material showdown playlist that I'm going to do on this dagger. So hope to see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.